loan officers feel like they have to sell their soul to answer the call at any time, and they're afraid to be human. They're afraid to tell the agent or the wealth partner on the other end that they have a life and what they're involved in. And the reality is that's one of the biggest connections that you could ever make with a partner.
24/7 Mindset World. Thank you so much for making time. I'm super pumped today because I get to interview somebody I've looked up to. Yeah, because he's taller than me. But we built a great friendship, and he's become a 24/7 Mindset certified coach. So, Robert, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. I mean, one thing I appreciate about you is your quality of life and your commitments to your family. The second thing, which we'll talk later about, is the social media posts that obviously the workout videos, the cooking videos, and the engagement. But one thing I want you to kind of share with the audience, 99% of loan officers out there feel like they've got to sell their soul to get a loan. They've got to sell their family time to get a loan. They got to sell their lack of quality of life, or if they're on vacation, they've got to still take that loan application. One thing that I really love about you is you've got this like framework that, hey, if I'm coaching third base or I'm on third base, I'm not taking your call. So like, walk us through that a little bit. How's that? How do you get to that journey?
Yeah, I think you said it great that, loan officers feel like they have to sell their soul to answer the call at any time. And they're afraid to be human. They're afraid to tell the agent or the wealth partner on the other end that they have a life and what they're involved in. And the reality is that's one of the biggest connections that you could ever make with a partner. Because if you end up sharing a same common interest, then it just builds that bond so much tighter. So, as I started to coach my kids, and I don't anymore because they're all grown, but not totally grown. I have one in 8th grade, but it's just my level of coaching has now been surpassed by the high school coaches, et cetera. So, I started to realize that if I was, like I said, coaching third base at my son's baseball game, I can't take that realtor call. I can't take that borrower call. And so I just started to be transparent and vulnerable. And I would say, hey, listen, I'm coaching my son's baseball game. And if I'm unavailable for the next hour and 45 minutes, I'll call you back, or, call my team member. But this is me right here. I'm being present for what my family, for my son, and going to do the best that I can for them at that moment so that then I can be the best for you.
Is there a nervousness, or is there like a rejection feeling at all, or did it work perfectly the first time?
There is, and I had some very high maintenance, realtor teams that couldn't understand that, but they started to just realize that that's who I was. And it wasn't just coaching baseball. I was my daughter's basketball coach too. And so it's just, if you're transparent and you tell people when you're not available, they'll respect those boundaries. And they might not like it right away, but they'll learn to either be proactive and ask you before the game starts what they need, or, whatever the event is, or just wait for you until after.
Yeah. And I think when you realize that, I don't know, I've got this phrase that my wife absolutely hates it. And it's no one died. Like, there is no funeral tomorrow just because you didn't get to that pre-approval. And I think when you can learn as a loan officer, something I teach, something you teach, is if you as a loan officer can feed yourself, you can feed others. And what I mean by that is, if a loan officer understands that every single loan application that they have, you can get or give a CPA referral, you can get or give a financial advisor referral, you can get or give an insurance agent referral, you can get or give a family will attorney referral. There's 8 different opportunities on every single loan application. When you refer those out to partners, you're going to get referrals back from those wealth partners. When you go to your realtor and say, hey, Mr. Realtor, thank you so much for your loyalty to me. Here's a $15,000 commission. Here's a $10,000 commission. They will not bother you on third base.
Yeah.
They will not bother you with your family time. If you can learn to feed yourself, you can feed your realtors. And when you can learn to feed your realtors, it's a complete game changer in the marketplace, because then you can have your family time protected.
Absolutely.
So when you heard that the first time, were you like, dude, that dude's full of crap? Or were you like, okay, now it makes sense?
No, and forgive me for a second, but two of the things that I talk about on our coaching calls is, the first thing that I talk to originators about is what their current identity is. And I always like pull up a business card, which we don't hand out very often, but I tell them like, how many titles have you had since you've been in the mortgage space that all the different titles you had, account executive, loan officer, senior loan officer, all that stuff. And obviously, this, but we try to get people to start thinking more as like a wealth strategist.
Mhm.
And the other thing that I tell people that's ironic is like from day one in the mortgage business, we try to get people so comfortable that they'll work with us that they literally could hand us their wallet, right?
Yeah.
And the reality is, nothing in this wallet has to do with my mortgage,
Yeah.
but there's bank cards, there's credit cards, there's cash, there's all that other stuff. And so we have to get them comfortable that they'll give us the wallet. And then now we're a wealth strategist. We can talk to them about, hey, I see you have an account at Fidelity and you have a TD Ameritrade. Do you have an advisor that works with you? No? Oh, okay. Um and so I think like when I first heard that, it was just mind blowing to me that we leave so many opportunities on the table. And we always feel like those professionals are like the vault that we can't get into. We feel
Mm.
like they won't talk to us, right? And
Yeah.
I'll self admit, before I went through certification, I had thought about working with, financial planners. And I even thought, like you mentioned social media, I thought, oh, let's get them to do some videos with me and then we'll send it out to both. The problem was that industry had typically is somewhat guarded in what they'll allow to be recorded,
Yes. 100%.
right? But if you're handing them, we talk about leverage all the time with the page 5, you're handing them referrals, all of a sudden their interest is piqued and they're a lot more of an open book than we might think they otherwise were.
Yeah. But also, I feel like one thing that you do ridiculously well in coaching the 24/7 mindset loan officers is you do a really great job of changing their identity, but changing who they see them as. But you don't do it in like a threatening, aggressive way. How would you describe your style of getting the loan officers that you coach to see the potential that you see in them?
Well, I think, I don't know if we'll get to this, but in preparation for today, I was asked about my profile on my social media.
Yep.
And I was asked about the order of that profile. And to be honest with you, Wally, I hadn't thought about it. And I went back truthfully this morning and corrected because I had two out of place. I
Yeah.
originally had father, husband, and I thought, "Ugh, if Amy sees that, I'm probably in trouble." So I changed it and put husband, father. But
Yeah.
the reality was that mortgage was fourth on that list
Okay.
because it's not who I am, it's just what I do. And
Yeah.
when you start to think about that in terms of it's a title or whatever, everything else about my life, and even going back to coaching third base or whatever, all of that is the space that I'm in. And I can plug into what I do to the space that I'm in. So then if I start becoming aware of family will attorney opportunities or even just like getting to know you and your two kids, I might just casually ask you, "Hey, Wally, I assume you have a trust or a will, but have you thought about how to protect your assets for those that you love and that depend on you?"
Yeah, and I think it's nothing more than that. I'm a big storyteller, and I love talking to clients who like, hey, they ask how your day is, and you ask how your client's day is. I'm like, it's actually a really great day, but it's kind of sad at the same time. Well, why? Well, one of my past clients' husband passed away, and that was the sad part. But she reached out to me thanking me because 9 years ago, when I helped them do the mortgage, I made sure that they had a family will and also they had life insurance because I connected with their partners. Like that to me gives me a lot of purpose or gratification that what I do for a living. By the way, talk to me about your family will attorney. What do you rate them 1 to 10? Like, it's just, you're being a storyteller, and it's not like you're selling them crack. I mean, you're trying to protect their family, for goodness sake.
Yep.
There's nothing that you are trying to hurt them with. And it's not like the family will attorney is going to cut you a commission.
Right.
So there's like, your heart is pure. And with a pure heart, I mean, at the end of the day, like, you're helping these families. You just got to get over the nervousness. Like, here's a question. How do you coach loan officers to get over that nervousness of telling a story, sharing a question, and then shutting up and letting them talk?
Well, I think, again, going back to the titles on our business cards, like, we've always just thought in one lane. We've always thought that this is what I do. If there's not an opportunity here, then I need to move on to somebody else. But when you take the time to get to know the client or the person, let's not even say client, let's say person, and everything else about their life, then you can share situations, like you said, or stories in your life, and then ask a question and listen.
Absolutely. So one thing I wanted to give you the closing thoughts. So around the topic, around third base, around protecting your family time, around seeing your identities, give me the last 60 seconds of what coaching advice you, as a 24/7 mindset certified coach, what coaching advice do you have out there for the mortgage industry?
My biggest piece of advice for the mortgage industry is to think of yourself in a different mindset. Think of yourself as just the person, and be transparent with everybody that you deal with. And I think about, like, Wally, when I spent time with you in Dallas and you started to tell me more about your life, the bond that we had grew so much stronger because of the stories that you told or the background that you shared. And so the biggest piece of advice that I would have for our clients or other prospective clients is to build some of that, one, transparency, but also vulnerability, because it strengthens the bonds, and then you become something we haven't talked about yet, which is sticky.
Well, there's also, when you bond with a teammate, when you bond with a coach, when you bond with a partner, every time you see them, your subconscious goes back to that bonding situation. And the more times that you see them, and the more times you go back to that subconscious, the bonding situation, the stronger your bond goes together. And I think so many loan officers, unfortunately, we're in an industry of, what have you done for me lately? But if you can truly bring value, your partners are going to see that you're valuable for the rest of the relationship that you guys have together. So
yeah. Hey, Wally, just real quick, do you know how we bonded? Do you remember?
I'm sure it was a little bit over golf, but I mean, other than you talking when you're in my office and I started crying like a little baby,
well, yeah, but before that, this is not like some Jedi mind trick, but do you remember that I found a common interest with you and I started messaging you about cold plunging?
Yeah.
Your Facebook post about changing what cold plunge did for you, and watching the podcast and the videos from Joe Rogan, etc., that gave me the bond in the end to start messaging you and then build this further friendship because of, Kai and some other common interests, and then the golf trip we go on. That's what it is, man. That's the it's not a game, but that's what you do.
Well, I think for others to have interest in you, you have to become interesting in their eyes. And through social media, I try to show that I am interesting, and you are interested on what I showed that I was interesting. Opened up a huge relationship, opened up a great friendship, opened up a great bond. And I really enjoy where our friendship's gone. And thank you, Robert. What if someone wants to get a hold of you, wants to get in a relationship with you, wants to be part of your world? How do you want them to reach out to you?
I try to make it as easy as possible. I am just a mortgage guy on social media, with the underscores, just underscore a underscore. My website's robert.mortgage, as you can see behind me. Or you can just email robert@247mindset.com.
I love it. Well, the last one was my favorite. So, all right, Robert, thank you for your time. 24/7 Mindset Community. So stay tuned. There's another episode of Robert coming up.